said that until 2 weeks ago, his mind was made up. He wasn't just leaving Juventus. He was going to retire altogether. He was mulling over the possibility of staying at Juventus to be groomed for some sort of executive role in the future. And then he says that he received an offer which really stimulated him, and which he found really enticing, and he certainly and then other offers came in as well. So. He's certainly mulling over the possibility of being back next year.
But why leave Juventus, a team that, he wears the crest in his heart, it's through and through. I mean, realistically, how much can he offer other big clubs? And if it's just one more season, why not just live it out at Juve?
Because I think we saw it this year, right? He's always, over the last 4 or 5 years, he's always, cup games and this game here and there, he always left it to his backup. This season, Wojciech Szczesny, who had been a starter before and who is considered a very good goalkeeper by Juventus, he played a huge amount of times, and I don't think Buffon's ever been in that situation where he sat so many times. So I think it was clear that from the club's perspective, they have decided to move on as well. And he says, I'd rather go somewhere else where fresh start. I might have a year left, I might have 2 years left, but I want to go where I can write a new chapter.
All right, let's go to Julian, because one of the rumors that we are hearing is that PSG are interested in Gigi Buffon. Julian, do you know any more on that?
Yeah, I was told again tonight that there was a lot of truth in that. They need a goalkeeper. They want a goalkeeper anyway. The problem they have is with financial fair play. They probably can't afford a Jan Oblak or Thibaut Courtois, because they also want a couple of other players in key positions, and they couldn't be able to splash another 200 or 300 million euros like they did last summer. So their hands are a bit tied up in terms of spending the money. And obviously with Buffon, they wouldn't have to spend any money in terms of transfer fees, only in wages. So it became an attractive option for them. I'm not convinced. I have to say, I'm not convinced. By Buffon going to PSG, simply because why would you delay for another 2 seasons getting a younger goalkeeper and not doing it now? But I can see why they're attracted with him, like they were with Dani Alves last summer, for example.
I hate to be disrespectful of Gigi Buffon, and I'm not going to do so.
Steady, Gabs over there.
I defer to the goalkeeper legend here, in Casey Keller. But what I would say is that if you watch Gigi Buffon over the last couple of seasons and objectively evaluated him as a goalkeeper, it was clear, no doubt about it, that his best days were behind him. And it's gotten to the point to where those mistakes are happening more and more often, to the point to where you have to ask the question, maybe he's not good enough anymore, not to play at that high level. Is he a legend of the game? Of course. Has he been one of the best goalkeepers in the history of this game? Yes, he has. But we all get to a point to where it may just be time to turn the page, and he is at that stage right now.
Casey, should he just hang it up once and for all now, instead of just flirting with the idea of coming back and playing?
I think there's a difference between playing for the national team, playing for Juventus in Champions League semifinals, and maybe going somewhere else that you can just kind of play a couple seasons and be Gigi Buffon.
But PSG, PSG is not the place to do that.
Correct. That's not the place to do that. So if he really wants to play, I mean, obviously it depends on salaries. It depends on what he's asking for. If he just says, look, I want a different experience. I want to go somewhere. I want to be in LA. I want to be in New York. I want to be in China. I want to be in Saudi Arabia. I want to be somewhere to do something different. Great. But if he's saying, look, I need 10 more million to play another season, then I think Ali has a point. I think he's not at the top of his game to go to the top flight.
I think also, though, let's not forget, 3 of the 4 goalkeepers of the Champions League semi-finalists were Sven Ulreich, Loris Karius, and Keylor Navas this year. So, I'm not saying goalkeeper's not important, but...
Possible 11. Is this their best 11?
I assume that you can put this together, but the problem is, I'm not so concerned about what happens with Messi and Pavón and Di Maria and Agüero. It's what happens behind them. Because see, you got heart attacks in that back line, and then Lucas Viglia and Javier Mascherano are guys that cannot cover the ground. Not so anymore. They're not as athletic as they once were. And if you're gonna give freedom to Messi to do whatever he wants, which we expect that to happen, and Di Maria is gonna get up and down that left-hand side. At this point in his career, is more up than down. Okay, and Pavón is going to attack. Well, somebody's going to have to defend, and somebody's going to have to provide balance. I don't know where that balance is going to come
But this
from.
is why you have the Sampaoli
Oh,
effect,
no,
right?
here we
The
go.
guru,
Oh, here we go.
right? Who will lead them to the promised land.
Yeah.
This is a person who won a Copa America with the Smurfs playing at the back, right?
Uh-huh.
Gary Medel comes
Yeah.
up to your knee. So if he can do it with those guys, Otamendi, he may not be the second coming of Beckenbauer, but he just won a title with 100 points for Manchester City. Fazio had a good season getting to the Champions League semifinals. I think you can tell me they gave up 6 goals over 2 legs, but we don't need to go there.
7.
But 7, there you go. No team is perfect, but you want, if there is a guy who can find a tactical solution that works, that covers up for your weaknesses, surely it's Sampaoli.
Right.
I'll tell you what, if he does that with that group, that midfield and defensive group, Gab, then he needs knighting. The Queen needs to knight that guy because I'm telling you, with that group, look, we can't beat about the bush here. Going forward, they're absolutely spectacular. But defensively, come on, they have got so many.
Well, I'm not sure if the Queen can knight someone in Argentina, but Casey, what do you think? If Sampaoli manages to do this, do you think he can pull it off? I'd probably
Well, there's a
get
reason
knight
why they struggled in qualifying. It wasn't because they have a ridiculous amount of talent. It's because of the balance. And you can't have it be...
It's because Sampaoli wasn't there.
Oh, here we
This
go.
But there's
is-
also
well,
the
this
argument
is
that
where we're gonna
CONMEBOL
find
is the
out, right?
hardest.
But you're not
Confederation.
going to change Aguero. You're not going to change Messi. You're not going to get them to say, okay, all of a sudden now I need you to work like Simeone has everybody working at Atletico Madrid. That's not going to happen. So you got to pick up those pieces with other players that can cover that ground. They need an N'Golo Kanté in that midfield really badly. They need a guy that's going to run for 3 guys, and they don't have it. And that's going to be, if he can get them to play and get them to defend as a team, because to make it past a quarterfinal, you need to be a team.
Well, speaking of that quarterfinal, let's put this scenario out there now, because as we do expect Argentina to get out of their group and say they make it out, of the round of 16, in the quarterfinals they could meet Spain.
Oh, dear.
Oh, is that trouble for them then? Good night. Go home.
Nobody would love to see Argentina and Lionel Messi run through this tournament more than I would, okay? But if we just take it back a couple of months, we don't have to go back too far. Spain destroyed Argentina. And it was the A version of Argentina. It was the team for Argentina. And they could not stay in the same field. Now, I know it's different. It's a different setup. It's a different scenario. But to expect that sort of improvement from this same team to all of a sudden be able to defend, I just don't see it happening. Messi's going to have to carry this team. And they have to hope for a miracle in terms of the draw, so that they get themselves in a position where Messi can be Messi and maybe get them through onto a World Cup title.
So Spain would just do it for them.
Messi's carried them before, though. I mean, we've seen there's been times this season when Barcelona have been terrible, and Messi's carried them. So, look, I agree with you. There's obvious weaknesses. You have to sort it out. I wouldn't take it for granted, by the way, that Biglia and Mascherano will play together in the middle of the park. I think, he may have to take other solutions. But, once you're in there, you get the momentum going. Romero can maybe do something. Help me out here. And you got the Sampaoli factor.
No.
I'm not.
Formation right now because you're going to get destroyed in midfield, for example. So will he adapt? Will he keep the 4-4-2 for the group stages? And then when things get a bit tougher, he switches to 3 in midfield to have a bit more bodies in there and also play Paul Pogba in his best position on the left of that 3 in midfield. There's a lot of question, and as talented as this squad is, and all those young players and more experience, there's a great balance, I think, in the team. The question mark, the biggest one, is over Deschamps, because he made mistakes at the Euros, and for me, that cost France the win eventually, and he will have to get it right this time if France wants to achieve at least, like we said, a semi-final, which is the objective, and maybe higher than that. Deschamps has to make everything spot on, all the right choices for France to get far in this competition.
Well, and one of the trickiest parts when you have such a talented squad is, to Gab's point, is a pecking order. So if you have a guy that's saying, well, I'm not a sub, and now in this squad you find yourself come the first match and now you're not in the starting lineup, are you going to be a distraction to the rest of the team? Is there going to be issues going on? It's not as if the France squad in the past hasn't had some problems off the pitch. I think we can go back to Korea for some interesting scenes. So yes, there's
Or South Africa.
or South Africa as well. So there's times when yes, this team has to be united. And Deschamps, I think one of his biggest tasks for this World Cup is to get all 23 players in the right frame of mind, not just and that has to be who are your starters, who are your subs, who are your guys, because you're always going to have 3 or 4 guys that aren't even going to be in the plans. They're there just to be part of the squad, and they have to be as important as doing things right in training, doing things right match day, not being a distraction to the rest of the guys.
Deschamps has got to be a tremendous communicator. He's got to pull the boys to one side. If you're not in the starting 11, the boys have got to be told why, and he's got to come up with the right answers, because then this can really melt away very, very quickly. This squad is absolutely a phenomenal squad. It's almost, well, it is a player in every single position. So he has got that luxury. He cannot afford to make mistakes with the selection of the team, and he's got to keep everybody on board.
This team, though, has something going for them. All of us as players have used failures as a motivation to get us going forward, to try to achieve bigger things. They fail in the Euros. Yeah, they get to the final, but you lose that final, that's failure for
At
you.
home.
At home.
Yeah.
So now, do you use that as that motivation? Do you use that as a learning experience? Did you actually learn something from that experience and then now put that into work in the World Cup? Or do you use that as like, oh my goodness, I don't know if we can deliver in the big moment? You certainly hope, if you're a France fan, that this is a group of players that have learned from that and now can use that to propel themselves forward because of the motivation, because of what it means to them, and because of the opportunity that they have in front of them.
Well, Julian, let me just put this to you then, with everything that, of course, everyone has said. Semi-finals, if they don't make it at least to the semi-finals, would that just be a massive failure again for France then?
Yeah, it will be a failure. It will be. That's the objective they have. Deschamps, the French Federation. That's what the objective they have set the players is to get at least to the last 4. If you look at the group stage, and then if they finish first of that group, the potential fixtures going forward, I think it's very doable that they go to the semi-final. And then once you're there, I think anything is pretty much possible. So there's a lot of hopes, there's a lot of expectations, there will be a lot of pressure on this squad and on Deschamps to deliver. Because of all the talent, as we said, and because it looks like it's all in place for them to do well. So yeah, you're right. No semis would be a huge failure.
Julian, one thing I wanted to ask about is, and this is something people have talked about in the past, is the importance of leadership, especially with a potentially a fractured squad. You look at this, apart from Hugo Lloris, maybe Griezmann, maybe Umtiti, potentially Pogba, but we don't even know how much he likes Pogba and whether he's going to drop him. Could there be an issue of veteran leadership if maybe Matuidi gets dropped, or how is it going to pan out?
Yeah, and Koscielny's injury in that way, Gab, is a huge blow, because not that he's the most vocal, but he was one of those leaders that Deschamps relied on a lot, and he won't be there. So you're right. I think Varane, as good as he is a more introvert, than extrovert. That's not his stuff. Even Griezmann doesn't want to be a leader, and he said that publicly, openly. It's interesting because this week Paul Pogba came out and saying, okay, this is my time now. I need to be the leader of this team. This has to be my team. This has to be my tournament, and I want to be the boss of this team. So, those are big words from Paul Pogba, and let's see if he has the shoulders to cope with all that pressure and be the leader. I would like him to be that leader. But if he isn't, you're right. You might be scratching a bit for, if you go 1-0 down in a quarterfinal with 25 minutes to go, who's going to pick up those guys to go and get an equalizer and then go and win the game? And you're right. Psychologically, that might be an issue or something.
I got that right. And heading over to France?
Yes, I do. I think he feels ready now to come to Europe and get a job here. I mean, it's no offense to MLS or to New York City FC. I just think he feels ready, and also he knows that if one day he wants to get a top job in Europe, like the Arsenal job, he needs a stage in between. I don't think he can go from MLS directly to an Arsenal or to clubs like this. I think he needs to prove himself in Europe as well as in MLS, like he's done, but also in Europe. And I think for him, coming to Ligue 1, for example, would be perfect for that. And Nice, obviously very interested, although they also very much like Eduardo Berizzo, the former Sevilla manager, who I think is slightly favourite ahead of Patrick. But Saint-Etienne, who are on the verge of being taken over by US investors, are also very keen on Patrick Vieira. And so is Nantes, who parted ways with Claudio Ranieri this week. And Nantes are also very keen on Patrick. So he will have offers on the table. Then it's down to him, obviously, to decide what's best for his career, but I really feel he's ready to come back to Europe.
Ooh, Case, Ale, Maras, Do you think Julian's got it right? That there's no way that he can go from MLS straight to an Arsenal job? He needs something else in Europe?
Well, I think he also is looking eventually to maybe take over from Pep at Man City. He was there in the youth setup. That's where he kind of finished his career. But I think it is MLS has come a long ways, and it's continuing to grow. But it is a step going from MLS to a team that is looking to be a perennial Champions League team on that side of it. I can understand where maybe a step in between makes sense.
Well, it makes a whole lot of sense. And if you're Patrick Vieira, I think you want to take that middle step, a little layover action and see, okay, what is it that I need to learn from this that perhaps I didn't get to learn in Major League Soccer? Major League Soccer has provided me with a foundation. And now I'm sort of using that foundation, taken to a different level. And if you can improve upon that at Nice, then I'm sure that he'll be able to take it to a different level entirely. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. For NYCFC, though, it's a big miss because this guy had done a tremendous job for this club.
I think there's another element, I think, with this guy, which is that he is a planner. So he's obviously been within City Football Group, back in Manchester and in New York. But let's not forget, prior to that, he has the Arsenal legacy. He has a legacy at Juventus. He's in touch with the Milan people where he was when he was very, very young. I think he knows the way football works. It helps to have friends. It helps to have options everywhere. And going back to France, where he hasn't lived or worked, since he was 16 years old, I think that's the right challenge for him at this time. Whether, as Julian said, whether it's Nice or somewhere else.
Maris, at Arsenal, who would you rather have, Mikel Arteta or the big man, Patrick Vieira? With all due respect,
Everything that I've heard since Patrick Vieira came to this country has been positive. Everything he does in the dressing room, everything he does around the team, everything he does on the training ground. I tend to disagree with the lads. If they're talking about taking Arteta, then I say take Patrick as the gaffer and take Arteta with him.
See, I think you can do that when you're a club legend. I think you can come into a club that you've been there for so long and everybody knows you and they know who you are. I think if you're going to a club where you're kind of unknown by the supporters, then I think you need to take a step. But I think he could do it, but I think optimally he would love to have a step in between that. But there's not very times when you get the option, when there's the opportunity, and a club like Arsenal are saying, we want you to be the manager. How do you turn that down
Also,
if
let's
they
be
do
clear,
that?
Arsenal legend, but he left Arsenal, 14 years ago, 15 years ago?
And there's a lot of work to do there.
He's been in a lot of different places in between, and it's a big rebuilding job.
But it's a pretty good time at Arsenal when he was there.
Oh, yeah.
The fans won't forget that at all.
It's also a pretty good time to go into Arsenal if you think about that the bar is pretty low.
Oh.
And the expectations, pretty low.
Oh.
And so if you're going to build a project...
Tottenham guy,
But Ali,
the Arsenal guys over there.
This club needs
here.
a Patrick Vieira at the helm. They need somebody like this to shake the tree. It's too comfortable at Arsenal at the moment. Now, whether Arteta has got it in him, hearing good things about him at Manchester City. But I think if you put those two lads together, I think you've got something, because Patrick, he doesn't suffer fools gladly. He knows exactly what he wants. As Julian said, he's a planner. He knows exactly what he wants. He knows where he wants to be, where he wants to go.
You sound like his agent, Maros.
I'll be his agent, absolutely.
Hello and welcome into Extra Time. I've got Casey with me, Ale, Paul, and Gab. Julian is also joining me. So, guys, ready to get into some questions? We've got some. Oh,
Let's do this.
Gab.
How convenient.
No, you know why? No, can I explain? So normally, I'm on the other side of the ocean. There's a delay. Burley and this one and the nickel, right? They go and
They're thankfully on vacation.
and it's hard to get in. But now I'm here in the studio, so I can
Without
better
Burley
impose
and
myself.
Nicole, so that's
yes, I
probably
feel a little
a
safer. But I can impose myself.
Ask him a question.
The mood is still positive, right, Ale?
Exactly.
I don't even get a last name reference. It's this one. That's it. That's all I get.
Delana didn't know your last name.
But
Whoever he is.
Get personal here. All right, guys. Julian wants to get about his business, so let's start.
Oh, okay. All right.
Nagar Salvi wants to know, Paul Mariner, what are your thoughts on Mikel Arteta as the next Arsenal manager?
No.
Wow, tell us how you really feel.
Solid.
Look, Arteta has a bigger role at Manchester City than I thought. I thought that Pep had taken him in just because he knew the Premier League, just helped him out a little bit. I was wrong, but I don't think he's ready, and I could be way off the mark. I don't think he's ready for the manager's job at the Arsenal. I think that squad needs a shake-up. I think it needs discipline. It's too easy for them. People take too many games off. They need a big-time boss going in there.
Gab's making a face over there.
What do you mean making a face?
I think well, one thing we need to, whoever gets it next, what we have to remember is that we've gone from having one almighty Arsene Wenger micromanaging everything to it's going to be done by committee, right? Raul Sanllehi, Sven Mislintat, Ivan Gazidis is going to take on a bigger role. If Mikel Arteta comes in, whoever comes in, he's going to have to work within that framework. So the idea of the boss coming in and shaking the tree, there's already people there who've been doing a lot of shaking.
But is that a reason why they're maybe going to somebody who doesn't have
That experience.
maybe a bigger name, because there are two, because somebody else is going in there and going, I'm not letting these people make decisions for me and then make the decision to fire me as well. I'm coming in, and if I'm choosing players, I'm making sure that I am responsible for everything that happens if it's going to be my head on the block if things go wrong.
But that's something Arteta's going to have to consider because you said he's taking on a bigger role at City. That's fine. But again, at City, you've got Soriano and Begiristain upstairs, and you have Pep, and you have Brian Kidd, and you have Estiarte, and you've got a whole bunch of people who've been doing things the same way for a very long time and have been very successful at it, and you're inserting yourself into that. So
you're saying if Arteta gets the job, he's going to be dictated to by the higher-ups, who's going to sign? I mean, what sort of a job is that?
It's the way most managers in the world work.
Well, let's get Julian's opinion on this. Julian, what do you think? Are you a fan of Arteta at Arsenal or not?
No, I think he has the potential of becoming a very good manager one day. I'm just not sure if he's ready right now to make that step. We talked about step before with Patrick Vieira. I think he's, in many ways it's a bit similar. I'm not sure if he's ready to go from being an assistant, albeit of Pep Guardiola and at City, to get a top job in a top club like Arsenal. Even if he knows the club very well, he knows the people there. He will be managing some players who he was teammates with before, and when often things were not always being great between them. So I think that's not going to be easy either. So I'm just not sure. I'm a bit more with Paul on that one. I'm not sure he's ready for that.
How awesome would it be, by the way, to have managers or assistants taking jobs as first-time managers? How awesome would it be if Rui Faria were the next Arsenal manager?
Really not that awesome.
I know.
I would love it. That would be straight to WWE stuff.
It'd be great for Tottenham.
Okay, let's move on now to Samba Sandro. I like that name. Oh, but this one, he's actually talking to Julien. Julien, he wants to know, Martial with 11 goals and 10 assists, better than Lemar and Giroud. Does Deschamps have an agenda against him? Why is he not on the World Cup team?
Yeah, it's interesting. We said earlier on the show that his season never really got going. He felt like never really got going, despite some, okay numbers. Deschamps has a problem with his attitude. We saw that at the Euros, where he was not playing much, and he sort of gave up halfway through the competition. He was not really interested. He was not really bothered. We saw that more recently when we went away to the Netherlands to play them, where they had a clash the day before the game on the touchline at training. Because again, Deschamps was looking at him and saying like, well, you don't want to be here, you don't want to train, what's wrong with you? And I think the attitude, the behavior of Martial when he's been with France has been an issue for Deschamps. And you know what, for the World Cup, why would you take someone you're not sure is going to have the right attitude, is going to be 100% committed if he doesn't play? That's what Casey was saying earlier on the show as well. And I think that's the main reason why he's left him out.
Sort of rules to live by.
Don't tick off your manager?
In a World Cup year, you get called in for a friendly in preparation for a World Cup. You may not want to have this sort of discussion with your manager.
Yep.
Because those things, you're giving outs to manager. You're essentially saying, okay, let me give you an excuse as to why you shouldn't pick me. So then that decision becomes a whole lot easier to make for Didier Deschamps. And you just grab onto that and say, you know what, this guy's going to be a headache. See you later.
And Giroud has proven his ability to come off the bench and score goals. And I don't see him starting for that French team, but you got a proven guy that's willing to be a good squad player to come in and contribute when needed to, and to prove that he can contribute at the highest level. Fantastic.
Plus, you need, this is football, right? Having one genuine center forward who's actually a center forward in the team, which none of these other guys are. makes sense, right?
Yep. All right, let's move on to Honey now. And they want to know, is Antoine Griezmann among the best 3 players in the world, like what he said the other day after the Europa League match to the press? Would he make it in your guys' top 3?
No.
Ali, of course, to be the first one to say no.
No. Well,
Plain and simple.
So, okay,
Because you
Cristiano.
have Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo.
And then you can have your choice. You can have.
Neymar?
I'll take Neymar before I take Griezmann. I'll take a lot of players in Real Madrid before I take Griezmann. I'll take a lot of players in Barcelona before I take Griezmann.
And that's without even getting all the players at Man City.
Yeah.
Oh. Like an Aguero.
Yeah.
Leroy Sané.
Yeah, De Bruyne.
A lot of players from
Excuse
Roma
me,
before
Egyptian
Griezmann.
Messi.
Manolas.
Mo Salah.
Mo Salah would have to be right in that conversation as well.
Look, you love his confidence. I mean, you've got to believe in yourself. I think he's pushing himself a bit high there.
The thing about Griezmann, though, there's also a confidence thing going on when you consider how he started the season, those first 2-3 months, especially at club level, not Griezmann standard, and then to come back with the rip-roaring end of the season he's had.
The one thing I really do like about Griezmann is he's bought in to defending. Where he's going to go and he's going to help his team, and that's obviously what Atletico is about. He's not.
But he's not really got a choice.
I know, but he's not just standing up there saying, "Okay, I'm just about scoring goals, and you all have to do this work, so then I can get 30 goals a season, 40 goals a season." He'll put the shift in for his team.
I got it.
Which, as a goalkeeper, obviously I appreciate.
Can I just tell you, this may not be something that we can relate to, but he is very popular with the young kids because of the Fortnite celebration.
Hang on.
Yes.
That we can't relate to. I'm still a young kid, but since we're talking about a French
you know what
one,
Fortnite is?
I do know what Fortnite is. I've even played it a couple of times.
Oh.
Since we're talking about a French
Did you
one, let's
win?
go to a French one. Julian, yes or no, Griezmann in your top 3 in the world?
The French in me has to say yes. Of course, I have to say yes.
Oh, no bias.
Brilliant. That's good value.
But no, I agree with the boys. I would pick other people before him. Although, like I've said, 16 goals in his last 18 games for Atletico. He's finishing the season really strongly. And if he has a good World Cup, then he'll be back in contention. Don't forget, 2 seasons ago, he finished 3rd in the Ballon d'Or behind the 2 monsters. So he's not that far, and I think he needs a good World Cup now.
All right, well, let's move on to our final question now. I have to go to Paul Mariner first on this one. Ahmad wants to know, why has Jack Wilshere been snubbed for the World Cup? He's been brilliant this season.
What?
Paul Mariner, please make a case for
Oh,
Jack
Jack,
Wilshere.
where the other?
I can't make a case for Jack. I'm sorry, I don't think anybody can. I mean, it's an obvious.
I can.
I clearly can.
Been brilliant this season.
I don't know if Ahmad's been watching closely, Mr. Wilshere, but he's not been absolutely ripping the games up. Look, you see, we're talking about Griezmann, one of the best players in the world, working back defensively and doing it at the other end of the field. That's exactly what Jack's not done. He hasn't produced. He hasn't.
But that's not why he was going to be there. I mean, the reason Wilshere was a debate was, look at these England central midfielders, and you've got commitment and whatever, but who can actually pass the ball? And that's why you've got
So you're
down to Shelvey, who's got a whole bunch of other.
Is he going?
failings,
No, he's not
Yeah.
going.
Or Wilshere, or in the end he said, you know what? Let's have nobody who can pass, and we'll just beat you further up the pitch with Sterling and Rashford.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So with that
Isn't
point,
that-
Maris, do you have any issue with the
Is that not an
England
insult
squad?
to Henderson? Henderson said, look,
come on.
He wasn't. Hang on, just hold your horses. Hey, he
Goes
in my
on
book,
one
he wasn't a very good
English
player.
legend
But what Klopp's done with him in that central midfield is remarkable.
Did he become a sudden, intricate, creative passer? No. He has a different game. He
He
plays a
keeps
different
things
position.
going. So how are you going to play Wilshere in the English squad then?
Well, the thinking
With
was,
who? With who?
Like, I would have taken Wilshere either, but the thinking was, one of the issues that England's had in the past is they played people who put 8 people in the box and they parked the bus. And so at that stage, you need that magical creativity that
That's going to come from Jack Wilshere?
or John Joe Shelby
Oh, come on, mate.
We're
can
getting
provide.
very
That was the
personal here.
thinking.
Paul Mariner called Ale Moreno an idiot earlier. He was about to assault
I apologise
Gab just
for that.
now.
I
Don't
apologise.
apologise,
You did call me an
Stick to your
idiot.
guns.
I
Stop
did.
making people bully you.
You're a little tense.
Well, look, when England comes up, and I know everybody piles on, I've got Burley and Nichols screaming at me all the time. And by the way, I don't think they're going to the World Cup. But anyway, having said that,
This is like
this is when England is very close to my heart, and I know they're not going to be that good. I know that.
You know what, Maris? You're the only one sat at this desk that has a country at the World Cup, so it's okay.
Thank you very much indeed.
It's okay, so you can sleep
So-
You've
tonight.
got two
So
countries to choose from.
Ahmed, look,
And I
mate.
have 2 countries to choose from, and you
Ahmed,
as well.
Ahmed, look. Forget Jack Wilshere. He's not the answer for England. He's not the answer for Arsenal. He's not the answer for England. So
What about Shelby?
Look, they can't
Neither
risk him with any
Shelby.
more injuries, so sorry, Ahmad, but Jack Wilshere, no. All right, anyways.
He's been brilliant
If
this
you want to see
season.
more
Is he
of us
kidding me?
arguing, just make sure to tune into ESPN FC tomorrow. We'll try not to argue as much. Actually, we won't, but we'll be looking ahead to that FA Cup final between Manchester United and Chelsea.
Daily? What?